Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Left of Str8 Show interviews, the premier podcast that shares the stories of our amazing LGBTQ community and, of course, fantastic straight allies, all from entertainment, foodies, books, music, and advocacy. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton, and let's start talking. Welcome back, friends, to another great interview where we delve deep into the minds of exceptional individuals making waves in their respective fields. Today, I have the pleasure of joining me in studio. The immensely talented actor and now director Brian J. Smith is here. With a career that spans across stage and screen, Brian has captivated audiences worldwide with his remarkable performance and undeniable charisma. You may know him from his breakout roles, Lieutenant Matthew Scott from Stargate Universe, or as the empathetic and interconnected Will Gorski in Netflix's groundbreaking series Sense8, and more recently the Jason Bourne-inspired Treadstone or the time-tripping Class of '09. Brian's journey in the entertainment industry is nothing short of inspiring. Join us as we explore the highs, the challenges, and the invaluable insights gained from Brian's journeys as an artist, and uncover the passion and dedication that continue to drive his craft forward. But first, take a look.
Gay boy in the 70s. I got beat up a lot in high school, and this was a place I could come without, repercussion, pretty much. I came out the first year in, I think, 81. I just came out for the day and missed the last very, and it was just great. We, there was Provincetown and San Francisco and Greenwich Village, but then you have the beach here, and I'm not a beach person, but I like walking on the beach, and it was. So she just needs her, I need to put her hair in a bun, and then she will go here, next to her husband. Into heaven. I think Michelangelo's David would be a fabulous flamingo. It takes a lot of time, but I'm not seeking perfection, because the first year we learned early on that obviously not everything survives well. It's just a beach thing. It's got to last for a couple weeks, and then we pull them and throw them away.
If you're gonna have a party, you gotta have sound. You gotta have real good sound. It was a very magical evening, and it went on and on and on. And in the morning at sunrise, we were playing the theme from Madame Butterfly. It blew everybody away. I have goosebumps thinking about that, I got tears in my eyes. And it was like I did something nice. I helped a community. I did something that I'm proud of. We threw a party for us all. And the rest is history.
We are back, everyone. That was Brian J. Smith. Man, talk about an exciting interview. I'm looking forward to this, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. It's a great day here. I mean, you have a couple of things coming up here. We're going to talk all about your new movie you directed in a couple of seconds, and you're not enough just to direct. You're going to be starring in the next movie the next day. So let's just you're going to have a little fun, my friend. So thanks for taking the time.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
Well, first questions, I always ask first two questions for everybody. Let's talk about growing up a bit. You grew up in Texas. What kind of a kid were you, and what was that like back there?
I grew up in North Dallas. In for the first maybe like 13 or 14 years of my life, sort of in the suburbs, very comfortable. It was Reagan, the Reagan era, in a very conservative state. And my parents were fantastic. I had really great parents. I really did have a really great childhood. Um, I think with accept the challenges of sort of, having a little secret you're carrying around, you can't really
Right.
talk about, right? And then we moved out to the country when I was about maybe 14 or so, and lived in a town called Lucas, and that was really incredible too. I mean, it was nice to have an experience where you weren't like living in a, sort of every house looks the same neighborhood. It was a great place just to kind of go out and explore, and I was very lucky. I really did have a very nice childhood. My parents went through a really bad divorce when I was 16, and I think when you're at that age and your parents split up, it's a very formative experience, and I it definitely forced me to grow up in a lot of ways, and I think it kind of drove me into uh, the theater. I really kind of disappeared into the theater, the thespian society, we were called. And it was a place where I could go and just sort of unravel my emotions and sort of interrogate like what I was going through and make sense of it, if that makes sense.
Well, you took to it kind of well. I mean, Juilliard doesn't accept anybody, my friend. So you had a pretty nice school going into it. Talk about, I mean, that's just kind of ballsy to apply to that. Were you really into that to begin with? And were people encouraging you, or did you just decide to step up to the plate?
I was pretty ballsy. I mean, looking back at myself, like, am I sort of this? I went to Juilliard when I was 21, so I had sort of bounced around a little bit after high school. Went to one college and kind of like left there after a few years. Went back home, and I went to a program in North Texas called it was Collin County Community College, and it was a really fantastic theater program that would attract all these amazing theater students from the North Dallas area, and one of them was Michael Urie, who you
Oh,
might know from Ugly Betty, and he's a
very much so,
Broadway
yeah.
star now and has just done really incredible stuff. He's one of my favorite performers I've ever seen. I mean, he's one of the most talented human beings ever. And I got to meet him at this at Collin County Community College. They were doing like a little summer Shakespeare program, and we got to be good friends. And I think he kind of saw something in me and really encouraged me to audition for Juilliard. He's like, I can't guarantee it. It's like more likely than not you won't get in because it's just so hard to get in. But you should go try it. I think that you would do okay there. So, kind of on his recommendation and his encouragement, I flew to Chicago and auditioned, and somehow miraculously, I went in, got in, and it changed the course of my life.
Amazing. Well, not miraculously, my friend. You have the chops. And I love a good Michael Urie story. He's very good friends with a good friend of mine, Stan Zimmerman.
Huh.
And he just announced today, the day we're shooting it, he's going to reprise his role back in Once Upon a Mattress in Broadway. So he's going
Oh,
back to the stage.
oh, fantastic! Oh, that's
Yeah, I'm
great.
excited for that. So I may try to hop down there. It's only about a 6.5 hour drive from where I'm out here in Northeast Ohio. So I'm
Well,
looking forward
finding
to it.
finding the parking is probably the hardest part.
There you
Driving,
go.
not so bad.
Save a
Finding a
space
place to
for me,
park.
and then I'll bus it there. Find a place in your place, and I'll just run in. Well, talk about that New York appeal too. I mean, you've filmed in San Francisco, New Mexico, Atlanta. What kind of keeps you in that New York kind of vibe? What draws you to the city?
I think I'm just a nester and I'm a little lazy. Honestly, I like to be in one place. I hate moving. I've been in this apartment for it's about to be 10 years pretty soon, I think. I actually moved into this place right before I left to go film the second season of Sense8.
Hmm.
And I just, so I think I'm a very nostalgic person. And there's a lot of memories in this place. Everywhere I look, there's just so many incredible things happen to me. I got such great news here. I got bad news here. So for me, I really get attached to places, and I think having this is like a home base where I can always come back to and um, reconnect with who I really am after being in some of these insane places has really done me
Right.
well.
That makes sense. I like that. And I know I've just from interviews way back in the day, you've always been a book guy. I love all the books you have on your shelves there. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
been through each one once or three times.
Yeah. Right. Well, now it's funny. Now they're all on my iPad, pretty much. I rarely read. I mean, a lot of these books, and there's over here too. These are all from like my college days, mostly. Now I get everything digitally on like iBooks, which is
Right.
I love it so much. Yeah.
I need I don't have an iPad or anything, so I still do the Kindle old school because I don't
Oh,
have just the but I definitely it's the way to go. I need to have the screen a little big enough to read it and then I'm good to go.
yeah. It's a game changer. I love. I mean, for me, and ever since I was a kid, I like reading is one of the most important things of my life. I mean, no matter what is going on. Like right now, I'm going through a Dickens phase. Like I've always loved Charles Dickens, but I'm really, really, really pouring myself into like I'm reading Dombey and Son right now. I'm reading the Pickwick Papers, reading
Wow.
a biography on him right now. I just I get obsessed with authors in that way, and right now this is my Charles Dickens era of my life.
I love that. One of my interns just turned me on to Discworld. So I'm going to start looking Discworld a little more sci-fi-ish and everything.
What is
So
this?
but it's
Discworld?
called Discworld, DISC World.
Huh?
And it's supposed to be really excellent. I read her, she did a little blog piece for my website and I read it. It's like, well, now I got to read this damn thing because it looks pretty a lot of fun.
Is it like a
Uh,
big? Is it like like a big franchise of books? Like or
Big
like a
franchise of books, and it takes the sci-fi realm and kind of flips it on its ear from what she says. So I'm kind of looking at the to see how that goes. So I'll read my first one. I'll send you a note on it and tell you because I think I'm looking forward to it.
yeah.
Kevin McHale from Glee's been on my show two or three times. He's a huge reader. I mean, he reads everything. I mean, when I need a recommendation, I kind of follow him around and see what's going on. I send him a quick little email because he has some great recommendations as well. So there's such great reads out there all the time.
It really is for me. It's like it's one of the joys of being alive, being a human being, is that you can someone can put something down on a page and it can completely transport you and take you out of your daily life in ways movies can't. Like the movie you have in your head when you're reading a really great book. Oh, just is. It really is the greatest gift. And I think that's maybe in some ways like why for me directing has been so interesting because like whenever I've read a script or whenever I've read a book, it's like the movie of it in my mind has always been just so powerful and kind of very crystal clear to me. So I guess maybe these other interests make a lot more sense when I think about it.
No, but that's wonderful. I like all of that. Well, as I said, I've been a longtime fan of all your work. I'm looking forward to you grow your hair one of these days. I mean, from military to a cop to FBI to a secret government organization, you got your peg, my friend. Talk about typecasting. Thank God you do it so well.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I've got one of those. I just for some reason my hair does not look good long. Like I've just always kept my hair short just because it's always suited me so much better. I've always admired these guys that like fucking Adam Driver. Like hair
Right.
can go down to his ass, right? And it's. I think people really like that kind of thing. I just know like that does not work on me. It does not work. Trust
I'm
me.
telling you. I mean, I'm a chubby white guy and my hair is very curly. If I let mine go out, I look like a bad character on Good Times or something.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. It just gets really curly,
Get the
really fast.
fro. Get a fro
I
going.
keep mine pretty short as well, so I hear you. Talk about how you bring life into all these characters, because, like I said, they're kind of in the same genre, but you brought, I mean, each circumstance is different depending on the series, obviously, but you really bring a lot of yourself in each of these characters. How do you get into that mode, and what kind of research you do to make it your own?
Um, it really does depend on the job, and I hate to sound like flip about this, but like I really do think of them as jobs more than characters. I mean, listen, when you're doing television and film, unless you're a really famous person, you don't have the time and the space, to go in and do all of the incredible detailed research and all that stuff. You 99% of the time, at least for the kind of jobs I've been hired to do, you're hired to do it because you look like that guy that they have in their head, right? And that's not a bad thing at all. And
No.
there's something about, and it's a different kind of skill, right? Like doing some very 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 simple stuff well is really really difficult, and I really did struggle with it for a long time because again I went to Juilliard and I learned how to have like a really really detailed process of like getting into a character, and you just don't have time to do that on TV and film, and you're in fact it's not helpful. It's not needed. You need to show up and be spontaneous and in the moment, and then they put your performance together in editing, and that's a whole other thing you have no control over.
Right.
And so there's just all these levels of sort of like I've learned over the over time that the best thing to do is to show up, be as open as you can. It's more like baseball, honestly. You show up, they put a bat in your hand, and you just go out and you swing
There you go.
as hard as you can, and then that's it, right? It's I would love to do a job one day on TV or film where I got to really sort of dive into the character in a way, and that just I think maybe the older I get, the more likely that is to happen. But for a certain part of your career, you're there because of a certain way that you look, and that's just kind of the way it is.
That's some great advice. And also, you just want to be a working actor, right? So you take a lot of these parts. I learned early on in podcasting, it's like I would go through all these parts of the career. They don't have time to remember half the stuff that happened 12 years ago, right? I mean, you're there putting the job and putting the work in and making it the best you can at the time, but you have to go on to that next gig, right?
Yeah, and there's certain jobs that are very different. I mean, like Sense8 is obviously the one that comes to mind, which was like not a job actually. It was a gift that this person, Lana Wachowski, was giving us to say, hey, listen, I choose you. Come with me all around the world. We're gonna go shoot and live and get to know all these incredible cities all over the world. And I hope this changes your life, right? That was sort of like that was the process of Sense8, right? Was sort of being invited on this ride. It actually the show itself. I'm very happy that it turned out the way that it did, and that it's found an audience. But like for us, it was like the adventure of a lifetime. It was almost beyond the filming.
I love hearing that. And it's such an amazing series. Let's go back to sexuality for a second. I mean, you kind of came out in Attitude right around this time was there. I mean, you were out to friends and family, I'm sure a little bit before that, but did that kind of did the nature of the series help bring that about? Did the comfort of working with Wachowskis and having such an open set help, or what kind of helped bring that around for confluence at the same time, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of that really did. I mean, especially when you're working with, Lana Wachowski, who, came out as trans and went through her transition process in front of the entire world back when it was not like back when nobody was doing it, no one was talking about it. It was a really 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 huge deal. I mean, she was a real pioneer um, for the queer world, and especially for trans folks. I mean, it just I remember hearing about her transitioning when I think I don't know what was maybe 18 years old or something like that. I and it just it was no one had heard of this before from like a like someone of like that kind of stature. The person, one of the people that made the Matrix. So when you're working with her, and then also at the time Lily, her
Yeah.
sister Lily was going through her transition right after we finished the first season, you know, you're working with these people who are so out and so brave about their lives, and here I was being very guarded and very careful and feeling like, oh, it's no one's business and who needs to know, and you know, isn't it, you know, like a little bit better to be mysterious and have people know absolutely nothing about you. You know, I went through that debate in my head, but I think that I was really inspired by the by the way that Lana and Lily have been able to help other people who don't have the privilege of being in our insanely privileged industry, and can kind of be an example of how good things can be when you live your life openly.
I love that. That's so well said. And like you said, that was back in a time where it was just more learning about it, and it didn't have the hatred that we have today, unfortunately. It was more just kind of a curiosity at the time, and kind of learning this process. And you really learned a lot about it, especially if you were in the community. It made me want to learn a lot more about it, because it was definitely a different experience than what we've had, right? And I
Yeah.
think they were definitely trailblazers in that. So yeah,
Oh,
very well said.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Trailblazers is the right word.
And then you've come out, but then you're still playing these great roles. I mean, you're playing straight presenting, I guess you can call them, roles and everything like that. Talk about, did you ever feel any blowback towards yourself and anything? Or I remember I talked to Garrett Clayton a while back, and he said that he actually got less gay roles offered after he came out than before. And so that was like total opposite for him. But what was your experience after that?
I mean, I can honestly, I don't know if this is like, if there's like a causal relationship here, but the idea that, like, you know, kind of coming out is going to be like this incredible thing for your career, or, you know, I hear people sometimes say like, oh my God, you know, people are just kind of coming out now because it's like everybody's doing it. And it's, you
Right.
know, I can honestly tell you that it has not made things easier at all. I mean, I don't know the kind of conversations that people have, right? When they're casting things. I do know that to a certain extent, um, perception of people out in the world does come into play, and I'm very certain that there are roles that I was not up for, probably because, you know, in certain circles in Los Angeles, which are still very, they're, I call them film bros, you know, like these are, it's a very masculine kind of, you know, like, it's, we need real men, we need, you know, guys out there. um, you know, in those kind of circles, I think that they're not like, it changes how they see you, right? It changes how they are willing, even if you are like the most butch guy ever. If you are out and you're queer, it's still, I think, in a lot, for a lot of people, it changes how they see you as a masculine or non-masculine performer.
Right. It's I mean, I've seen a lot of people live through it, and it's very hard to adapt to, and you've handled it quite well. And then I think it, because you seem to be sort of a private person already, and I think that's the best way to handle that. Just don't give them all the press that they want. That's all they're looking for, is to sell a paper or sell an article or whatever it happens to be, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And, you know, a lot of these things are like, you know, kind of like conversations that are having at the level of, you know, behind a lot of closed doors.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't, listen, as someone who is interested in being a filmmaker myself, I mean, I also don't believe that, you know, people should be told how to make their movies. And I don't think people should be told, well, your taste is wrong. I really do respect people's, you know, process, and like what they, the kind of movies that they make, and the pool of actors that they're attracted to. That should be allowed. It's not like, but it does, you know, it does present, it's not like, again, coming out is a like, oh wow, like everything's in color all of a sudden and people are reacting to me, and just like, no, it just, especially these days, in general, people don't care until it comes to like, how does it affect someone else's bottom line? And then it matters. You know.
Very true. Well, that kind of brings us perfectly to A House Is Not a Disco. Congratulations on your first directorial debut. You're opening up New Fest tomorrow night with it. And then you're acting in Haze by Matthew Pfeiffer, who I love Cicada. I mean, the
Oh, right.
cast he had in there in that film. How amazing is that? So I can't wait to see you in this and what he brings you into this new film. But talk about the next couple days. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think tomorrow kind of feels like a culmination in a way of like all the festivals that we've been to. I mean, we opened at our world premiere was at South by Southwest, and we've been to Miami. We've been to Sarasota for Outshine. No, sorry, Outshine was in Miami. The Sarasota Film Festival. We've been to the Cleveland Film Festival. The film's going to be playing in Europe and Canada and the Berkshires and San Francisco later in June, right? So us being here in New York and premiering this film at a New York festival for us is like very, very, very special because this is a New York film. This is in a lot of ways, this is a film about New Yorkers, and the Pines in a lot of ways is just like an extension of New York City too. So this is like the most cozy audience I think we'll ever have. It's really interesting playing this movie to folks, to straight folks, to like an audience full of straight people, and also to people who are like in the Midwest and have never heard of the Pines. It's been very fascinating seeing how people react, to this place and the nudity and the very frank talk about sex and drugs and stuff like that. It's really interesting to see like how far we have come with these topics. Some people are like, oh, it's who cares? Like everything's so open now. I can actually kind of honestly tell you that like there's just a lot of people that really do not enjoy hearing anything about gay people at all. Like they literally, it makes their skin crawl. And I think I've had the experience of watching certain people watch this movie and just be disgusted by it and just really, really turned off by what they saw. I mean, maybe it's the filmmaking and maybe it's me. I don't know. But like, I think that there's something about gay life in general that just still for quite a lot of people is so taboo and so like ugh. And it's been fascinating to see that kind of get provoked a bit with this film.
Yeah, I've kind of felt in a bubble doing this Left of Str8 show for 8 years now. I'm doing my third, what I call my big gay road trip this summer, where I'm taking
Oh,
the podcast network to a month of shows in Palm Springs, doing live shows there. So it's my third time driving out there and back. But this year I'm kind of raising some money for some pride centers, so I wanted to get it out there. So I did my very first Facebook ad. I don't do things like that. The hate that I got on that ad was a little surprising for me. I've lived in a bubble. Never had it before. I'm a nobody here in Northeast Ohio. And there was straight people coming out of the woodwork who saw an ad. It was crazy.
yeah, there's a backlash that's definitely happening, and I whether it's Trump or whether it's I don't know, but I think that my theory on it is that the idea, at least from like us, that there's are kind of in our own little liberal bubble. I think the idea is always that things are just going to get better and better and better and better, right? Like we're going to make more progress and things are going to get more open and there's going to be more love and acceptance. And I just don't think that we sort of factored in um, the animosity that people really do feel about change and about the power that like evangelical religion has in our country, and the way that the ultra right is really, really, really coming back with a vengeance, and the fact that Donald Trump will probably, by all accounts, he very well could win again this year. There's a backlash, right? There's a backlash to all the progress that was made, and I can feel it with this movie, and I can feel it very, very. You see it happening online and in the news. They have no qualms really about going. I'm homophobic. I hate gay people and I hate gay life, and I think y'all ought to be thrown back in the closet. I mean, that's just they're allowed to say that really, and they feel very empowered these days.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with change. Nobody wants change. They're used to their straight white Christian world, and anyone that's religious different, whose skin color is different, whose sexuality is different, they just don't understand, and they're getting very vocal about it. So I agree 100%. Well
Yeah.
said. Let's talk about, I mean, first time directing a documentary. I mean, I talked to a lot of actors and directors. Documentary is a whole different animal, right? When you're a director for a feature, you have a vision ahead of time, right? You know what the script's going to be, you kind of know where you want to face this. A documentary, you take all this footage and then you put it together at the end, right? So, what kind of drew you to that part of the process? That's very interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, the making a documentary is I was so kind of fascinated by how you go out there with your crew. The thing that you need is access, right? Once you know you have access and you have people that are willing to be involved in whatever way you're envisioning the film to work, your job at that point is just then to go out and like it's like you've got an Easter basket and you're just putting this Easter egg in and oh I found this one and oh I found this. You're just collecting and collecting and collecting and collecting and you kind of put it in the vault and you forget about it until it's time to open it up for editing. We were very lucky that we had a great producer, Joe Conforti, who lives out there and has been out there for around 30 years, I believe. And he was sort of like our key to the city, not just because he just gave it to us, but he trusted us. He saw the vision that we had for the film and how we wanted to tell the story, and he got people to let us in. And people out there are very, very, very protective and very particular and they've been screwed over before, I feel like. And so we couldn't have done it without him. But yeah, you're right. This is, you're right. You really do all of your writing in post-production for this, as opposed to going out and having a script and having an idea of how you're going to shoot things. We would have no idea, each day, had no clue what we were going to find.
Exactly. You may come across some character you've never even had on your radar, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's a one. I mean, you did like 140 hours worth of footage. You had to get quite a few characters in that, I'm imagining.
Yeah, we would meet people out on the boardwalks. We would be on our way to like one interview and people would see us and they would want to ask, what's up with all the equipment? What are you guys filming? Oh my God, you're doing a documentary on the Pines? Oh, I've got something to say about the Pines. And like, well, hey, let's do an interview. Like we get their number and we go find somewhere. And there's several characters and several scenes in this film that were like literally complete accidents that just happened because we happened to be at the right place at the right time. And people were, especially young people, I find like young people these days are so used to living out their lives on social media. And they're always, always, always photographing and videoing themselves and filming their lives and putting it up and opening themselves up for like comment and criticism from complete strangers in like, Brussels, I don't know. And so they were so eager and natural in front of the camera. And that was something I didn't expect to find.
Well, and thank you for the intergenerational part of it. As a bear of a certain age, I kind of I enjoy that. I'm coming from bear of a certain age to daddy phase. All of a sudden, it's a very weird transition.
I'm entering
But
my
I'd like to really cover the entire spectrum of everything. What made you decide on this film to start with, and let everyone know what the reason is for the title. I think it's a great. I heard why I think it's amazing, and I love finding little bits of history like that.
Well, I think one of the like real secrets of like, films getting made, like why they happened is be, a lot of movies happen because they were they were kind of like accidental, unplanned for children. you know, Usually like two people have a relationship. It could be a producer and an actor, or a director and a studio person, and they've got a relationship that spawns an idea that allows something to get made, if that makes sense, right? Like I never planned to make a documentary about the Pines. But one of my really closest friends, Adam Klesch, is one of the producers of the Pines Party out there. And he was like, "Hey, Brian, I know you wanted to make a film. I think I can get you access to the behind the scenes process of doing the Pines Party every year, because it's a real show. It's a real struggle, and it's very dramatic. And I bet we could make a film about that." That was sort of like the seed of this movie. And from there, different people got on board and they added something and said, "No, I think it should be more about this." All right, great. Let's do that. So it was my job as a director, I felt like, more to sort of facilitate, like to bring people on board that I thought were really gifted and interesting and lovely and easy to work with and would make a great family, and then let them change the film, like, because people will always bring something that you would never in a million years think of, right? Like our cinematographer really opened my eyes to doing this film in a style that was like unlike most documentaries. And he really wanted to give it a real cinematic, photographic, painterly feel. And he really educated me on how to really, really, really shoot a scene and shoot beautiful, things out in the world, for lack of a better term. But yeah, that's how the movie happened. It's like a tumbleweed, right? And just ideas and people and it all kind of come on board if you're open to it. And it sort of has a life of its own in that way.
I love that. Did you learn anything? I mean, you've been going to the Pines, I'm sure, for a while now. Anything you learned about its history, about something that you didn't expect to learn, or something that was a little fun fact for you?
Um, I I think what was really a surprise for me to learn was how much hard work it takes to keep a place like that alive and running and functioning well. I mean, it's not, it is a self-run city. It's like a self-funded city, and all of the people that are there understand that it's very expensive, and everything, building a house, getting out there, getting food out there, staying out there for the summer, is like 10 times more expensive than going, almost anywhere else you could go in the New York metro area. And so there's a real love out there that informs how hard people are willing to work to keep it healthy and functioning well and growing in the right way for the next generation of homemakers that will hopefully then come in and love it as much and keep it going. But it doesn't, when you go out there and you're just partying and you're having fun with your friends, like, you're not thinking like, how does this happen? Like, how is it so perfect? How is it so beautiful? How is it that there's no trash all over the place? How is it that the beaches are so pristine? And again, it doesn't just happen that way. There's people behind the scenes out there that are running that place, not because they're getting rich off of it. They're actually losing a lot of money doing it.
Right.
They're doing it because they care, and because that space, that little piece of that island means something very special to a lot of people. And that was really touching to see happening, and that surprised me.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, my one of the friends of the show, Greg Scarnici, works in Saturday Night Live during the season and has a house on their off. So I kind of learned. I've never been there myself, but I kind of learned a little bit about it, and it is just fascinating. Like you said, there's a lot of upkeep. There's a lot of pride in what goes on there, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's so small. I mean, it's just like 600 homes and like a couple hundred co-ops, maybe. And so it's like, I don't know, you're going back in time into this like village mentality where you go to the grocery store, you go to the post office, you go to the restaurant, that there's one out there, you go to the sip and twirl, right? And you see all the same people all the time. And there's something lovely about that, because I feel like, especially in the city, our lives are so scattered and so diffuse and so kind of unconnected. And a lot of times when you're out there, you feel like you're a part of something. Even if you're having a bad experience, you're having a bad experience in the village with other people. You know.
There you go. Well said again. What do you hope the audiences are taking away from the documentary? What do you hope they're seeing, and what kind of feedback have you got through South by Southwest and the places shown so far?
Well, I hope that people, you know, it's. I think that there's something very healing about this film. There's a there's a it's a radically positive movie that we made every effort to like try to discuss really important things that are happening in our community, but like to do it in a way that was like fair, in a way that was like allowed people to like show up with a lot of love but still be very honest about things, right? And I think that there's something about that that we need a little bit more of in the world. You know, I think a lot of documentaries are like gotcha films, or you know, like there's this evil entity, whether it's a killer or a politician or something, right? And the whole film is this like this fight against how dark and terrible and hopeless our world and our planet is right now. I think that what we try to do with this movie is to say, listen, there's a lot to be thankful for here. There's a lot. Look at how beautiful it is when it works pretty well, you know, and also it's just funny as hell. I mean, there's a lot of really. It's just great to see gay people and queer people of all sorts just being their radical, nutty, free selves. And it puts a smile on your face. And that's, if you can do that for people, that's, you know, that's great.
That is definitely the goal, and good on you for making a LGBTQ film. One of your very first films you've done as a feature director. Do you kind of hope to keep in that vein? I mean, of course, you're just drawn to projects because of what they mean to you, but talk about the importance of it doing an LGBTQ film.
I mean, I remember talking to like Lana Wachowski about this. I like called her and try to get, you know, some advice about it. And she's like, just whatever you do, you know, like realize that like, you know, movies and TV shows like really do have the power to change people's lives, even if it's like to put someone in a better mood. And, you know, there really is an ethics behind what we're doing. Like, are you making people feel better about the world? Are you making people feel, are you making people feel more hopeless and more powerless, so that they'll go and buy more products, so that the advertisers will buy
Right.
spots and support
Welcome to
your
Pride, my friend. Welcome to Pride,
right.
right?
Well, yeah, there's that. Exactly. So for me, I'm glad I'm kind of starting this process off with like, I know I want to make stuff that is really making people's lives just a little bit. It's just a little bit more beautiful, right? So yeah, that's very important to me. And doing LGBTQ plus, you know, stories is awesome. But like there's something else I want to make right now, like another documentary that has nothing to do with you know, with us particularly, but it's about political polarization. And those are also things that are, you know, very important to me too. And if I could ever make something that addressed that in a way that maybe made the temperature go down just a little bit, that would be fantastic.
You have the talent, my friend. Just the means is the hard part. So good on you for that. And let's hope that happens. Any projects? I mean, of course, actors and directors are very want or unable to talk about future projects. We have Hayes. Talk about Hayes for a brief moment, and the acting side, and other projects you might be allowed to talk about right now.
Yeah, Hayes is so. I mean, this is it's one of I filmed with them. Oh my gosh, it was. I mean, way before we did any filming on A House Is Not a Disco. Matt's been working on this movie for like a really long time, and I'm really interested. Well, I'm so excited to see it because from what I've heard, the character that I was playing is totally different than the character that we filmed.
Nice.
Like his story and who he is and what he is actually has changed quite a bit. So that's going to be like a real, I told Matt, I was like, I don't want to watch a screener. I don't want to see, I want to watch it for the first time, like at the festival, because I really want to be surprised.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was great. It was great working with Cole Dolman, who's like, I just think, I just think he's such a great, gifted, talented, compelling screen actor. I just remember watching him on the monitor while we were filming some scene, or he was filming something, and I was just like there watching, and he just has one of those faces and one of those like minds that you're just like, oh, how do you get that? Like, can you buy that somewhere, or he's just so great. And I think he anchored this movie because it's his film. It's all the way through. It's Cole. And I know he just like absolutely killed it. I can't wait to see it.
I'm excited. There's a streaming pass for if you haven't picked it up yet, you can go to NewFest and you can stream everything. And I picked that up because there's a lot of things there I want to see. Of course, yours. I wanted to see Hayes. There's a lot of great films coming out. I'm a huge fan of Problemista guy, Jesse. What's his name? Jesse Torres, I believe. And
yes.
He's doing his new series there. So I bought a streaming pass. Guys, don't be cheap ass bastards. Go buy your streaming pass and get that done. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So congratulations on all of that. That's your job. I don't reach out too hard on my guests, but your job is to get me. I need to get Matthew on. I need to get David Blue on. And you need to get me Max, an interpreter from Sense8, and I'll be a happy king for the rest of my life.
Totally. Totally. I bet I could.
I would love to see you in, my friend. Oh, go ahead. Finish that up. What would you say?
I was gonna say, I'm sure. I bet I could. I could talk. I could. I'll put in a good word in. We'll see.
I appreciate that immensely. I want to see you and Luke McFarlane do a buddy comedy, a brother comedy. You guys look a lot. I think with your serious stuff and his kind of, I think it would be a lot of fun to see you guys in a nice rom comedy.
It would be interesting to see like gay brothers, like a gay brother rom-com. I would watch that, actually. That would be kind of interesting. Maybe I should start.
There you go. Get that scripting involved. I love it.
Not a bad idea.
Well, Brian J. Smith, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you a little bit here. Thanks so much for sharing your history and the brand new movie. Guys, it's coming out, like I said, NewFest. If you've got to see a chance to see it in South by Southwest or in the other streamings, you can stream it now at NewFest starting tomorrow. And hopefully we'll have wide release and video on demand soon. Let them know the best place they can find you, my friend, and find the film.
I'm on Instagram at Smith Espis. That's always a good place to reach me. And the film is also on Instagram at A House Is Not a Disco. I check my messages every once in a while. So that's how we met. So
exactly right.
You never know. Things happen.
I love it. Well, thanks again, my friend. Stay on the line for me. Guys, we're going to have a special 5 questions next week with Brian, so be sure to look for that. We appreciate you tuning in every Wednesday and Thursday for Left of Str8 interviews. Do all the fun stuff, the subscribing, and all the 5 stars. We appreciate it. And you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website for contests and other news and information. See you next week.